Welcome back to the Guy Dawson Show at the World Center of Broadcast Media, WCOBM.com, and I have been speaking with Brian Gardner. He is the author of Plan for America and the World. It is a book that is got a lot of solutions for some of the things that ail our country and the world. And we have Mike, who just sent us a message a couple of seconds ago. The addiction industry is very powerful and is causing people to self-destruct, especially here in Addiction City, otherwise known as Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yes.
Politicians take money from the addiction industry. What is your response to that?
My response is a very interesting example I can give you, and I'll make this brief, but I think you'll really understand. When a corporation gets too big, it becomes dangerous. Let's go back in time to the blacksmiths. They were not a $1 trillion company, but can you imagine if they were? They would have issued press releases. Automobiles? Oh, they're terrible. We should never have those. And they might have bumped off a couple of people making cars, and they would have brought people up saying, I was harmed in an automobile, and you shouldn't have those. And they would have mounted a PR campaign with their funding and probably tried to stop the automobile from coming in.
Absolutely.
Because they had a vested interest in shoeing horses. Now, luckily for us, they were not a $1 trillion company, because we've gotten fires put out quicker than a horse-drawn fire engine, and people to the hospital on time, and tremendous convenience with the automobile. But I'm saying that the pharmaceutical company now is so big that through their minions, the psychiatrists, they have encroached on our public school system. And of course, they want to make money. So what they've done is they have listed out things that, oh, if the kid does this, he should be on psychiatric medication. And guess what? It is so inclusive, they catch all the fish in the net. And that is not right. That is only an industry trying to make more money. We need to get psychiatry out of the schools, and we need to first, if a kid is thought to be put on psychiatric medication, let's see how his home life is. Let's see if he's having food coloring and sugar for breakfast. Is he sleeping properly? You know, let's check those things first. Does he have any allergies that might be causing some difficulties? And one of the groups I mentioned in the book is Applied Scholastics. And they have come up with an incredible worldwide study plan that oftentimes they have found when a student has a misunderstood word in their studies, Guy, they will exhibit behavior that the psychiatrist would think they need psychiatric medication. And you get out a dictionary, you help that kid, the activity and the bad behavior goes away, and the student starts studying again. But that doesn't benefit the pharmaceutical companies. But Applied Scholastics is mentioned in the book, and it's something that parents should look into.
Right.
And demand that goes into our public schools.
It's what you were saying a couple of minutes ago, I thought was really important, is you were saying that these large corporations, they influence our country in so many ways. Our political system, obviously, and even the pharmaceutical industry, the food industry. Right. It does a lot to shape the direction of our country as these large corporations.
It came out recently, unfortunately. Now, I've got to tell you that I don't have this in my book, but we'll diverge for a moment just to give you the example again of how when a corporation gets too big, they're dangerous. If you go to any small town in America that has one small gas station and a convenience store, you're going to find Coke and Pepsi there. Now, I don't mean to beat up on those corporations. They have a right to sell their product. But what I'm saying is, imagine the power of the sugar industry. If their product is in every single convenience store in America, and probably a lot of the world, they are going to be pretty aggressive about protecting their turf. And there was an article that came out recently that they have been hiding the information that it's not fat that is causing people to gain weight, it's sugar. But they have suppressed that information. And again, I don't mean to beat up on any of the sugar guys. Every once in a while I like to have a Coke or a Pepsi or a soda. But what I'm saying is we have to be careful when corporations get too large, because they'll start to have their own modus operandi that maybe doesn't fit in with our best interests.
Copperfield Publishing.
Yeah.
Where'd you come up with the name?
A very interesting story. I'm glad you asked me, because if you've seen the movie Fahrenheit 451, it is a movie where the firemen go around and burn books. They do not allow this, the printed word. They have cartoons with no printed word because the powers that be have decided that the printed word can cause unpleasant emotions. If you read a sad book, you're going to cry, and we don't want to do that to people, so we're banning all written word. One of the firemen, Montag, after he sees a lady burned up because she won't leave her book, says, okay, I've had enough of this. And he joins this rebel faction out in the woods, hiding out, who are memorizing books so that when the civilization gets sane again, they can come back and recite their book and we won't lose our culture. And the book that he decided to memorize was David Copperfield. And when I heard that, I really liked that name, and so I started calling all my public relations activities and publishing and my songs that I write under Copperfield Productions or Copperfield Music. And the reason I do that is because Copperfield, to me, represents freedom of thought. And so, freedom of thought in this book. If I take a stand on a particular issue, I don't jump on the other side and say, well, if you believe that, then you're really screwed up. I just say, you know, the reason why I don't like death penalty is I don't like to kill things. I don't like to kill things. So that's why I believe that. And I think that we can have dialogue under those circumstances. Because if I said, hey, I don't like the death penalty and you're wrong for believing the other side, then I'm a Star Trek fan.
That's what gets
the shields come up, right?
Gets rid of the dialogue completely.
So in my book, I'm trying to foster dialogue by someone on the other side might say, gee, I don't agree with Brian, but I can understand he doesn't like to kill things. I can see why he has the viewpoint he does. You know, so that's why I think this book is getting such great response. I did want to mention, if it's okay, we'll mention it again, but the website where people can find out more about this book.
Well, please do. We want everybody to be able to reach out to you if they want to purchase the book.
It's www.copperfieldproductions.com. So that's copperfieldproductions.com. It's not in there because I set the website up after I did this book, but www.copperfieldproductions.com.
You've got a lot of really interesting titles for your chapters. One of the titles that you have is the Traditional Family Unit. Would you like to talk a little bit about that? Because we have a society that is a lot different now than what the traditional family unit used to be.
Right. Now this is, boy, you're treading into dangerous waters, because somebody could really see me on the other side and, you know, really get aggressive or antagonistic toward me. But I'll tell you, here's why they don't have to. In the book, I talk about that I believe that a marriage should be legally only one man and one woman. It doesn't mean that people who are in alternative lifestyles should not be able to get married. I don't believe that. But I believe that only a man and woman, legally, it should be called a marriage. What the individuals in the alternative lifestyle, alternative relationship, want to call it in the privacy of their home, fine. They can call it a marriage if they want to. The reason I take that stand, and again, here's how this book is set up. If we allow the family unit to be destroyed or to be further damaged, I believe we open up this country to a dictatorship. I believe that the worst elements would like to see everything broken down to its bare base foundations where everything is okay. Because under that, then they can control us very easily. So rather than someone in an alternative lifestyle feeling that he's not letting me get married, no, they can get married. But the reason I'm saying that we must maintain the family unit is that we do not want a dictatorship, because under a dictatorship, the people who would be first in line for execution, quite frankly, would be activists, writers, anybody who's not in power, and members of alternative lifestyles. And I do not want to see anybody treated in that way. And that's why I take the stand I do. And really, I think it's a very small detail, given that, of course, they can get married. And they can call it a marriage in the privacy of their own home. It's equal, except we're protecting the family unit so that society doesn't go away and we don't lose people under a dictatorship, which could be horrible.
It's really interesting when you study history and you see the reoccurrences of things. And so you were touching on that point a few minutes ago about the great empires of the past that fell, and we're basically following the pattern of some of the greatest empires in the world. And we don't have a whole lot of time left.
Okay.
So I want you to share more of your message and make sure that all of our viewers out there know how to get in contact with you. If they want to bring you on as a speaker, I would imagine that you would do that, or if they want to purchase your book, or please talk to them.
So good. The key way to get in touch with me is through Facebook, is one way, Brian Gardner. You can also, and I'm not concerned about giving out my email address, because I wrote this book along some guidelines that I expect people, even if they disagree with me, to have good discourse with me. Let's talk. Let's not say, oh, you're bad because you believe that. Let's have communication. So that is bgardner2323@yahoo.com. The other thing I wanted to show is that I went and got my own copy of this, my own cover of this book called The Way to Happiness. And this book is helping to reinstall manners and values and this sort of thing. It's a non-religious book that has things in it that anybody can agree with, such as don't harm your environment. I just opened to this. Safeguard and improve your environment. Respect the religious beliefs of others. Don't do anything illegal. And what's exciting is you can go to the website there, and there are public service announcements that show a depiction of each one of these 21 precepts. And this is also something that is kind of a foundation for the book, because in this book there are guidelines that have been used. And when we talked on the phone, you said you were concerned about some of the problems in Chicago. This book that has been distributed, and where it's been distributed, a lot of crime rates have come down. Going back to my book, people can go to www.copperfieldproductions.com and find out about the book, purchase it if they want. Now, I want to say right out front that
we're going to have to do it really quickly, because we're going to.
It's only $9.99, because I don't want economy to stop anybody from getting a hold of this valuable information.
Thank you so much, Brian, for being a part of the show today. Plan for America and the World by Brian Gardner. It's a book that you're going to want to pick up. He's got some tremendously valuable concepts within this book to make America and the world a better place. And again, I really appreciate you for stopping by and sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you for having me on the show.
All right, we're going to take a short commercial break, and when we come back, Ariel is going to come into the studio. I haven't had her on the show in a while. We're going to talk about the World Center of Broadcast Media and our shows and some of our experiences in broadcasting. Stay tuned.